I'm male 54, have 2 kids, Jamie, male 24, and Mia, female 22. Their mother being my ex-wife, Sarah, 51. Our marriage fell apart when Mia was still in diapers. Sarah was having an affair with my younger brother, and she became pregnant with my nephew, Caleb, male 20. Sarah and my brother ended up getting together, although eventually my brother abandoned them and packed his bags and moved to another state when Caleb was a toddler, and to this day, he never sees his son. We had shared custody of Jamie and Mia, but they gradually chose to spend more and more time at my home when they became teenagers, as they felt that their mom liked Caleb better than them. Since lockdown, Sarah has changed a lot as a person. She's rededicated her life to Christ and joined a very cult-like online church. Recently, someone from his college outed Caleb as gay, and Sarah's disowned him as her son and ever so graciously gave him a week to get out of her house. Sarcasm, of course. I reached out to Caleb and told him that he's welcome to stay with me for free so that he could finish college. There was no way I could watch a family member become homeless without trying to help them. After talking things out, he moved in, and I had him take Jamie's old bedroom. My kids haven't lived at home in a while, so I have the space, and it's actually quite nice to have Caleb's company. The problem is that Jamie and Mia are both extremely upset with me for letting Caleb move in, considering their history with him and Sarah showing him favoritism. They say that there are other family members who could have taken him in. My parents offered, but they do live in another country, and that I should have asked them beforehand to consider their feelings. Jamie refuses to let me see my infant granddaughter until I get Caleb to leave. If I'm an idiot, how can I make this right? Let me get this straight. Your adult children have moved out, and yet they think they can tell you who can move in? The minute they grew up and moved out, they relinquished any kind of say in the household, what little they ever had. And the favoritism they're whining about, A, isn't Caleb's family, and B, obviously wasn't enough to protect Caleb from his toxic mother. You're not just saving a family member from the streets, you're providing shelter for a young man who otherwise would be far worse off. I'd be really disappointed in my kids if they did this. You are not the idiot. I don't know, man. Teens don't move out of their mother's house because of a little favoritism. My guess is things were not pretty before they switched over to OP's house, and he probably never got all the story because they were confused and hurting teenagers and probably never processed the entirety of it themselves. It also wasn't that long ago. No idiots here. OP's children are genuinely scared due to past trauma. OP can't tough love them into understanding. He needs to love them. Maybe try explaining to your kids that you aren't trying to show favoritism, but just trying to help out your nephew. Ask them how they would feel to have to leave in the midst of their college year, and just try to convince them that what you're doing is innocent. What you did is way more Christian than your ex. She's as good at being a Christian as she is at being a wife. Excellent observation, truth. However, you are the idiot. It seems like you don't even consider your children when you made these decisions, which is why they're so upset. Did you talk to them about Caleb before inviting him to come and live with you? Why should OP ask who can move into his home when Jamie and Mia don't even live there anymore? OP needs to ask them how they'd feel in Caleb's place if they were kicked out. It's not Caleb or OP's fault that the mom favored Caleb. The other option mentioned is for Caleb to move to another country. They're entitled idiots. I get feeling angry and hurt over mom's favoritism and abandoning them, but that isn't OP's fault. They're grown adults and being petty. My brother, 26, and I, 22 female, have a very rocky relationship with our parents, 61 male and 58 female, to say the least. While my brother was able to move out almost as soon as he turned 18, I've stayed with my parents for financial reasons. Because of this, my brother barely ever calls or texts our parents. Last week, my parents invited him and his girlfriend, 20s, over for dinner. It was supposed to be a peace offering sort of thing. The evening went relatively smoothly, and my parents managed to be civil while they were around. That changed when my brother and his girlfriend left, though. As soon as we were alone, my mother started going off about how she didn't like the girl and was sure she was somehow taking advantage of my brother. For context, both my parents grew up poor, but are now doing very well for themselves. Mom continued about how that girl was just using my brother. This didn't sit well with me because the woman she was accusing wasn't there to defend herself, and because I know how much my brother cares for her. I challenged my mom on that, but she pushed back about how she knows girls like that, and that boys like my brother have to be very careful. She didn't flat out call her a gold digger, but it was very much implied. Dad didn't really say anything himself, but he just kept nodding along and pretty much agreeing with what my mother was saying. Again, none of this sat well with me. So once I got a moment alone, I called my brother and told him everything. He thanked me for telling him and has apparently blocked my parents everywhere. My parents asked if I told him what they said, and I didn't even deny it. They're now accusing me of betraying them and saying that I wasn't supposed to share what they considered to have been a private conversation. They also kept saying how I should put family first, and that's what they were doing when they voiced their concerns about the girlfriend. So, am I the idiot? Edit. We're very much not rich. We're upper middle class at best. Compared to how my parents grew up and how my brother's girlfriend lives, I guess we are rich. Also, it's pretty crappy to assume that every poor person dating your child is a gold digger. That sounds like elitist BS, but maybe it's just me. As to why I don't trust their judgment, I'll just copy and paste the list of people my brother and I dated, along with my parents' reasons for disapproving of them. A guy who wore ear enlargers, a guy who had long hair, a girl who had short hair, a girl who had autism, a girl who didn't share their religion, a girl who comes from a low-income family. Not the idiot. There's a reason you both have rocky relationships with him. Whether it was a private conversation or not, they still disrespected your brother and his girlfriend, who didn't do crap. They will never change and need to know not everybody who gets with someone rich is there for the money. They wouldn't have said anything bad if they really wanted to improve the relationship. I have family members who sound identical to OP's parents. They never change, and when you finally think they're being nice, it turns out they were speaking badly about you behind your back the whole time. People like this don't change and cause so much misery in the lives of others. They weren't doing crap to protect your brother because it was all behind his back. If anything, they likely would have weaseled their way back into his life only to mistreat his girlfriend or any girlfriend that they didn't approve of. Have been in the exact same situation your brother's in, OP. I have a strained relationship with my father and his partner, and they decided to voice some unkind and untrue things about me and my SO in full earshot of my sister, and she told me afterward. Well, it did burst the bubble. I had thought the meeting went well and that they were finally happy for me. I was thankful she told me, so I could finally set clear boundaries and stop letting myself get walked all over by people who don't have my best interest at heart. They also keep saying how I should put family first. You did. Your brother is family. OP, I would start working on an exit plan and then go low contact when you leave. I'm glad you have your brother's back, and hopefully when you move out, you can spend more time with him. I have 2 teen kids, male and female. Both of them have jobs. My kids are different in every way possible. My son usually saves his money, and when he does spend it, he's cheap with it. He has a lot of money saved from when he started working. He only spends large amounts around his birthday or Christmas for himself or for the family. He enjoys cooking, and he's a really good cook. He's cooked for the family before. He has leftovers, and they're his unless he says otherwise. My daughter is the opposite. She buys a lot of stuff with her money. She still leaves enough saved in case she needs to buy food or toiletries. She doesn't like cooking, so she eats what my wife or I cook. The issue is my daughter's been stealing from my son recently. She'll eat his leftovers and bring some to school. She goes into his room and wears his clothes or accessories to school. Her brother is, of course, upset by this. If she asked, he might have said yes, but she doesn't. Her defense for the food is that it's in the fridge. Anyone can take from it. Her defense for the clothes is that it fits her style better, and she can't find clothes like her brother wears. He's given her the site it's from, but she has yet to buy clothes from there because it's pricey. My son came to me upset and asked if he could get locks for his room. Some of the doors don't have locks, and that he's been saving up for a mini fridge. I decided that I'd pay for the mini fridge and get him the locks. He has 2 keys to his room now. My daughter's very clearly upset, but hasn't said anything. My wife understands the mini fridge, but thinks the 2 locks are too much. She thinks it's treating our daughter like a criminal. My mother-in-law agrees with my wife. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If your daughter doesn't want to be treated like a criminal, then she needs to stop acting like a criminal. She's literally stealing his clothes and food, and your wife is enabling her. I'm glad that you bought the locks in the fridge for your son. It must be very unnerving for your son to realize that his sister has no problem stealing his belongings. It's only a matter of time till she'll start stealing his money, too. I was the sibling that was always getting stolen from. My mom allowed me a deadbolt to my room to combat my sister stealing. You're treating her like a criminal because stealing is a crime. You're also teaching your son that it's okay to set boundaries. Both are valuable lessons. Also, just a side note, that was over a decade ago. My sister learned to stop stealing from that, and now it's a joke in the family. Your daughter being locked out of a room that's not hers to enter will not kill her. Everyone's the idiot. You say your daughter keeps enough money for food and toiletries. Do you not provide those for her? She's a teen and has to buy herself groceries and toiletries? Because when I was a teenage girl, I wanted specific toiletries and clothes and wanted to go out and eat with my friends. There's your necessities covered, and then there's stuff you want to be picky about. But if you have neither. Update. Thank you for the comments. I plan to talk to my wife about punishments. She lifts any punishments that I've given to my daughter. If we can agree and punish her and she keeps stealing, I'll talk to her about therapy. There's food, and yes, we buy our kids basic toiletries. My daughter is picky about some stuff, like her shampoo and conditioner, so she buys that herself. As for food, my son isn't the biggest fan of our cooking, while my daughter prefers it. But if she wants to eat something other than what we cooked, she buys food for herself. I, 28, am a Muslim woman. I was not raised Muslim, but I converted during a difficult time in my life. My husband, 30, was there for me during this time, has always understood my reasons, and is very supportive despite being an atheist. My husband's sister, 24, is getting married and asked me to be a bridesmaid, which I'm thrilled to do. We've chosen a modest dress I can wear with a hijab, and there are no qualms on that front. The issue comes with her bachelorette party. She wants a Vegas-themed party, and all the girls must wear bikinis in coordinating colors. Now, I wouldn't mind this if I was just in the company of women, but I cannot show my body off in front of men, and 2 of the bridesmaids are my sister-in-law's gay best friends, male 24 and male 25. These 2 guys are lovely, and I have absolutely no issue with them, but I can't wear a bikini in front of them. I tried to compromise with my sister-in-law and wear something modest, but still in the color scheme, but she says I'm being phobic and ruining the party's vibe. She said if I can't wear a bikini, I shouldn't bother being a bridesmaid. My husband said I need to do whatever makes me feel comfortable. Still, my mother-in-law, 62, says I'm driving a wedge in the family over nothing. It isn't like I've never worn a bikini before, and I can set aside my ideas for one night. She said that they don't count as men under the Muslim definition because they're gay and won't look at me like that. And I'm purposefully being difficult. My sister-in-law has followed through with the uninviting me over this, and she said she'll never see me the same way again because of my selfish behavior. So I come to ask if I'm being an idiot. To be honest, I even think your religion is beside the point. You don't want to wear a bikini. No matter the reason, you are not the idiot for saying no. The idea that just because someone's getting married means they get to dictate every little detail is crazy to me. I wouldn't wear a bikini, and I'm an atheist. Sorry, sister-in-law cares about photos more than friendships. While it's one thing to make your bridesmaids wear an ugly shade of green or something, it's pretty different to demand they violate their comfort zones to this degree. It doesn't make a difference to me if you don't wear a bikini for religious reasons, or body image reasons, or any reason. Sister-in-law is in the wrong for trying to force you to wear one. Also, this isn't a phobic issue. The guy being gay isn't part of the problem at all. If they were fine with you wearing a modest dress for the wedding ceremony, what's the difference for the bachelorette party? One day they respect your religion and your choices, and the next one they're not? To me, they seem that they're just entitled, and it feels like it's just an excuse for them to bring this issue up. It was just a matter of time because the behavior really doesn't make sense. Do what feels right for you, but don't feel forced to do anything to please them. You've been respectful, and they need to do the same, and don't act like hypocrites. The ex and I divorced over a decade ago. All the time we were making about the same amount of money, so we agreed to share custody, shared cost of raising the children, and no child support. She married a guy who was making more than me, so they could take my kids to places and do things I couldn't at the time. I contributed as much as I could, then the ex covered the rest. For example, they spent a month in Italy one summer, and all I could afford at the time was to give my kids $1,000 each, and the ex covered the rest. When it came time to buy cars for the kids, we disagreed on buying them new or used cars. Ultimately, I contributed $5,000 per child, and she covered the rest for their new cars. Before the global issue, my brother had a great idea, and we started a business together. Our business grew during the global issue, and it's increased every month since then. Last month, my youngest asked me to help her pay for grad school. I told her I'd cover the entire cost, and she was very happy. I guess word got back to the ex, and she called me last week, asking where I'm getting the money, since she thought I was still at my old job and knows that the old salary could never allow me to be that generous. I refused to answer her questions, and we had a huge argument. She demanded I pay her back for covering my share of the children's expenses during our divorce if I had money. I told her to go ahead and hold her breath while waiting for my check because our divorce was finalized and the kids are all over 20 now. Not the idiot. It sounds like you consistently contributed to their educations, health, and you had 50% custody. The fact that she spent more money on luxuries is her choice, i.e. new cars instead of used, month-long vacations. Even then, you also sent what you could. Child support is for the children, and you paid for them when they were growing up. Not sure what her logic is. Her logic is, I want money. It's dumb anyway, because she only received money before for the children. He's giving money directly to his child now. She really feels entitled to a payout now? That's absurd. It would be like you demanding intimacy from her second husband. Any judge would laugh in her face and tell her to not waste their time. You don't owe her squat. Divorce is finalized, and you started the business afterward anyway. She's remarried as it is. And as far as I know, that disqualifies you from alimony from the previous spouse, and the kids are older than 18. Tell her this cash cow is off to greener pastures.